Have you ever wondered why there are horses in Cades Cove? In today's video, we'll talk about the guided horseback rides you can take in the Smoky Mountains. Welcome to Bear Facts, where we explore the Smoky Mountains one bear fact at a time. Cades Cove is one of the most popular destinations in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, offering a blend of rich history, abundant wildlife, and breathtaking natural scenery. Though originally a Cherokee hunting grounds, the European settlers moved into the cove in the early 1800s, taking up residence until they were also displaced by the creation of the Smoky Mountain National Park. Today, Cades Cove is a beautifully preserved area showcasing what life was like for those early settlers. As you drive the 11-mile loop, you encounter a variety of scenic views. These include expansive meadows, thick forests, and distant hills. Along the way, visitors can stop to explore historic structures that were once lived in and owned by the early settlers. There are a few churches, cemeteries, and even a working grist mill that guests enjoy walking around. Though it's the current residents of Cades Cove that draws in the most people, visitors are drawn to Cades Cove to spot glimpses of the abundant wildlife. It's very common to spot wild turkey, fox, coyote, white-tailed deer, raven, and of course the black bear. Though don't expect to see Oliver. He's a little shy and won't come out when people are around. Oliver, I said you were shy. Why are you making a liar out of me? Ugh. Well, he's shy most of the time. And as exciting as it is to see a black mama bear and her cute babies walking around, keep in mind that they are wild animals, which means they should be enjoyed and respected from a distance. There have been a growing number of incidences between park guests and bear that have been causing not only trail and road closures, but actual injuries to park guests. Do not feed Oliver if you see him. He's getting chubby and needs to lose a few pounds anyway. But there are park residents that you can get up and close to. The horses. Many people are awed when they first see the herds of horses grazing in the fields just as you enter the loop. To your right are large meadows, and most days you'll see a wide variety of beautiful horses grazing the fields or hanging out at the road edge. What many first-time visitors aren't aware of is that you can book an excursion to take a guided trail ride on these horses in Cades Cove. Taking a guided horseback ride has been on our bucket list for a while. Unfortunately, it's hard to get on the back of a horse right after a knee surgery and then again the next year, a rotator cuff surgery. You'd think I was 90 years old from all the issues I've been having. So when I finally regained the mobility to walk and hike again, we jumped at the chance to try horseback riding. Like I said, we wanted to give it a try for a while, and we finally got the chance this summer. And once I could finally walk and move both arms, we jumped at the chance. And yes, you really should have the ability to move both arms and be somewhat limber. Even though the horse is doing most of the work, you still have to be able to get on the back of the horse and stay there. Riding horses is fun, but there will be a few requirements before they hand a horse over. First thing is, you'll need to have a certain level of fitness. Once you're on the horse, you will discover muscles you forgot you had and might even get better workout than if you just walked the trail. But what fun is that? Obviously, if you have certain medical conditions such as heart and seizure disorder, you might not be allowed to ride. Unfortunately, there is also an age and weight limit. I would contact the park and talk with a park official if you're not certain and need more information. For the most part, if you can get on the horse and be able to maintain your position without falling off, you should be good to go. Anyway, the trainers will do their best they can to match the rider to the horse. If you're an inexperienced rider like me, they will give you a horse that will be happy following the pack and easy going. My horse was Kathy. In the hour together, we learned that she liked to take snacks along the way and was a leaner. I needed to keep adjusting the saddle because it kept slipping to the side. Now, this wouldn't be Bear Facts if I only told you about my horse, though she was adorable. Maybe I should give you a little bit more information about the riding stables and what you should know before trying to book an excursion. Let's start with what I learned about where the horses came from. When we took our excursion, I had a chance to talk with our guide. I learned that most of the horses were actually rescue horses. So when you book an excursion, you're also giving back for the care and the health of horses who, in some cases, desperately needed a new start. The horses are rotated and given plenty of good treats. From what we could see, they are in excellent care and treated with respect by the handlers. And even though the horses were rescued, I didn't get any impression they were skittish or dangerous to the riders. Many of these horses might have been rehomed due to neglect or situations that left the horse homeless. Now, these horses are very used to trail riding and are well trained. But just be aware that they are horses and they are big animals. If something like a horsefly bites them or someone does something to startle them, you might end up on the ground. I have to admit, I wondered what would happen if we encountered a bear. Wasn't I surprised when we ended up seeing a bear on the trail? It was a small black bear, and when we passed it with the horses, they barely, get it? Barely? The horses barely blinked an eye. The horses were used to seeing the bears and just gave them some space. Another interesting fact we learned was that the horses are snowbirds. In the winter, just after Thanksgiving, they head to warmer climates. The horses are given the chance to recuperate and relax a little after their time in the Smokies. When we were talking to the horse handlers, they said the horses were taken to Florida. I don't know if they keep the horses working during the winter, but it makes sense. They would have to keep them active and exercise them, so they might just give them light duty. Not sure. Before I tell you more about the horses, I probably should make sure everyone watching knows where Cades Cove actually is. Cades Cove is in the heart of the Smoky Mountains. This part of the Smokies is off of Scenic 73 at the end of Laurel Creek Road. Route 73 is a lovely road, but it can be long and you might want to give yourself time to get there. It's very scenic and beautiful, but slow. Now, if you want to try horseback riding in the Smokies but don't want to take the trip to Cades Cove, you can also take a guided horseback ride out of Sugarland Stables. These stables are much closer to the park entrance and much easier to access. They are both owned and operated by the park, so the rules and most of what we will talk about is the same. The stables at Cades Cove are located before you enter the loop road that takes you through the cove. There are two ways to get to the stables. One is if you take a left as though you are going to the general store and campgrounds. The other way is right before you enter the loop road, and I mean literally right before you enter the loop. If you're passing horses grazing in the fields, you've gone too far. There's no quick turnaround either. Cades Cove is a one-way road, so enjoy the drive. In front of the stables, you will see a small parking area for guests, a bathroom, and a trailer that the park officials use as the main office. You can park your car in the lot, but keep in mind that you will need a parking tag, as the stables are in the national park. You can purchase a parking tag at the general store or from the automated tag machines in the parking area before you enter the loop to Cades Cove. Once you park, you will need to head to the trailer right next to the stables. As of the time of this video, you cannot pre-book a guided ride. You just need to go there and see if there is room on the wait list. I strongly suggest, especially during weekends in the fall, getting there very, very early. The fall months are extremely popular for leaf peeping, and the stables will get booked quickly. Horseback riding is available March through the end of November, and they start taking people for the wait list at 9 a.m., though these dates and times are subject to change. The price is between $40 to $50. They also have horse-drawn carriages and hay rides in the fall for guests with low mobility or families with young children. They do take credit card, by the way. Once you reach the trailer, you will need to sign a waiver and pay up front. Children are required to wear a helmet, but adults are welcome to risk their heads. The park is very upfront about liability. If you get hurt, the park is not liable. This is a Tennessee law. Also, no guns are allowed in the area. This might sound obvious to some people, but people with out-of-state carry permits are technically allowed to carry or conceal carry in most parts of the park. Just beware that this will be one of those situations that guns are not allowed. Depending on how many people are ahead of you on the wait list, you are welcome to hang out and watch, or you can take a chance and go exploring. The park officials will give you an estimated time to come back, but keep in mind they won't wait for you if you're not there and your group gets called. Each tour is about an hour. This might vary depending on the size of the group and how many times your horse needs to stop for a potty break. No, seriously, that's a thing. If your horse suddenly stops for no apparent reason, ask the person behind you which number they're going, because that's most likely the reason they're stopping, though number 1 will be more obvious. The trainers try to keep the group small and will average 10 guests a session, though some might have more or less people. I think when we went, there was only like 7 or 8 people in our group, but the group before us had more people and they ended up with 2 handlers going with the group. Each guest will be given a group number once you've paid up. And once they call your number, the guests are asked to stand on a raised wooden platform and the horses are brought to you. They will ask you how much experience you have riding, but I expect that the average person has very little anyway. Either way, whether you have 100 hours in a saddle or 0, the guides will still take the time to cover all the basics. But really, it's not very complicated, and the horses are really doing all the work. And if your horse strays a little bit to take an evening snack, your guide will help you get back on the trail. The handlers all have different rules and are clear about what they need from guests. Some trainers are very clear and tell riders that they are not allowed to bring phones or cameras. Our guide said he was okay with us bringing our devices. If the guide makes it clear they are not comfortable with guests having their device with them, I would respect their request. If your guide does ask you to leave your device in your car, there is probably a good reason. And if you want photos, the guides are happy to help out and take your pictures. Our guide even took a picture of the black bear we encountered on the trail and sent us via video later. The only concern I had with leaving my device, which is an issue some of you might share, is that I use it to monitor my sugar levels. There are other medical issues that smartphones are used for as well, and if this is a concern, you can bring it up with your guide before heading out. Before being allowed to sign up, the park employees ask guests if there are any medical concerns or things they should be aware of. And though they're not weighing people, they do ask you to be honest with your weight. This is to ensure the health and safety of you and the horses. Once the guides finish up giving the guests a crash course on riding a horse, guests are helped up on the horse and you will begin your adventure. The trail we went on passed through dense forested areas in Cades Cove for most of the ride. You and your horse will also pass through a shallow waterway, over many muddy puddles, and around a few bends in the trail. The guide will take you on a loop trail that goes up and behind the campgrounds. The only reason I knew that was where we were because we crossed over the road that you could see before reaching the general store. Otherwise, I would have been lost. They kept the horses at a nice, steady pace, and it's an easy ride, unless you have a bad back. If that's the case, you want to either avoid riding horses or take a Motrin before heading out, because it can be taxing on your back and a little on your knees. You will need to keep your heels pushed out. That might bother people with knee issues. As I said, it's about an hour ride out and back. Before this ride, I had only been on a horse one other time, so don't be nervous if you're inexperienced. The most annoying thing my horse did was stop and try to take a snack break a few times. Kathy was a stubborn one. I also had to keep shifting my saddle back to the center as she was a leaner. When booking a trail ride, you might want to consider dressing in comfortable, weather-appropriate clothing, including long pants and closed-toe shoes. Though you can wear shorts, it might not be comfortable. Also, consider bug spray. The trail you are on gets muddy and bugs love the mud. During the ride, your guide will take any pictures you want and talk with guests, getting to know where you are from and answer any questions you might have. Please remember to bring a little cash so you can tip your guide at the end. Tips are appreciated and accepted. And if you're still nervous and aren't sure if riding on the back of a horse is for you, consider testing the proverbial waters by taking one of the wagon rides. The wagon rides are a little cheaper, there are no weight limits, and people with low mobility will have an easier time getting on and off the wagons. Also, there's no age limits on the wagons, so if you're 2 or 90, the wagons will be a great alternative. For most people, a horseback ride in Cades Cove offers a peaceful, unforgettable way to experience the Smoky Mountains. Whether you're an experienced rider or trying it for the first time, the stables provide gentle horses and expert guides to ensure a safe and enjoyable adventure. At the time of this film's production and release, we are a nonprofit channel, which allows us to share our information about the Smoky Mountain National Park. I hope this video helps you plan your visit to the Smoky Mountains. You're getting an honest review from our personal experiences, but facts and things change, so please keep us in the loop if you learned anything new and want to share your experiences in the comments. Thanks again for visiting us at Bare Facts of the Smoky Mountains. Please click that like button and subscribe to our channel.